Single dad CEO's maid acts as his fake girlfriend, but what happens next will shock you. In the heart of an upscale Austin neighborhood, the rich clinked glasses of expensive wine as the sun dipped below the horizon. David Cross, a towering figure of corporate success, sat alone at his lavish dining table, his mind racing. Behind him, the clattering of cutlery from the banquet echoed a cruel reminder that he was the only one without a companion. That night, something utterly bizarre was about to unfold. His maid, Emily, a young woman whose kindness sparkled like her eyes, was about to become more than just a source of spotless floors and freshly pressed shirts. Emily had become a constant presence in his life, her laughter weaving through the silence of his massive home, filling the empty corners with warmth. But the truth lay in a more profound need. A company gala loomed, and the unthinkable idea gnawed at David: a fake girlfriend. Emily needed the money for her ailing mother, and he desperately needed a partner for the evening. As crazy as it sounded, they struck a deal. The day of the gala came, and David felt the pressure weighing on his chest like a lead balloon. He fidgeted with his tie, glancing at Emily, who in a stunning red dress, looked like she had just stepped out of a dream. The tension was thick enough to slice. Would the pretense hold? Would they pull it off? Just as they stepped into the sophisticated ballroom, a toe-curling silence fell, eyes turned, jaws dropped. David's heart raced as the reality began to sink in. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The moment Emily touched his arm, he felt a jolt, something deeper than just a role to play. Their eyes locked, and for a heartbeat, everything else faded into a blurry background of laughter and chatter. Suddenly, a whisper broke the spell, echoing through the room. Is that his maid? Gasps followed like ripples in a pond. David's chest tightened. How deep did this charade go? What would happen when the music stopped and the lights dimmed? As the night continued, David could sense the crowd's shifting perception, amusement turning into curiosity, and curiosity into something darker. And then, unexpectedly, the head of the board approached them. His smirk sent chills down David's spine. What was his game? Would their secret be exposed? The air grew thick with uncertainty as the atmosphere electrified, hanging on the precipice of revelation. What they had stepped into was far more complex than a simple facade. It had become a tangled web of emotions, fears, and unexpected connections. Would they unravel? Would they be artists playing their roles, or was there something more lurking beneath the surface, ready to emerge? And with that lingering question, the night began to shift, unmasking secrets that would leave both David and Emily questioning everything. The buzz around them felt like a hornet's nest, alive and chaotic. David's pulse quickened as he caught the board member's calculating gaze inspecting them, weighing the value of their facade. The board member leaned in, a smirk creeping onto his face, and without preamble said, "Quite the stunning date you have there, David. Seems you've stepped outside your usual type." David clenched his jaw. Had he just stepped into a trap? Emily shifted beside him, her eyes wide but determined. He could sense the flicker of anxiety beneath her cool surface, but the light of her costume glimmered against the backdrop of the room, an unspoken challenge that he couldn't ignore. "Thanks, Mark," David replied, forcing the smile he knew wouldn't reach his eyes. "Emily's just an exceptional woman." His heart hammered as he spoke, each word both an affront to his silence and a beacon of their connection. The board member's laughter danced in the air, mingling with the soft notes of the live band performing in the corner. "We'll see how long that exceptionalism lasts under scrutiny," Mark shot back, flicking his gaze toward Emily, who seemed more fragile than ever. The laughter around them quieted, and David's thoughts spiraled into a frantic loop. What if Mark wasn't just teasing? What if he was searching for a reason to upend everything David had built? Forcing himself to breathe, David took a step closer to Emily. "I think I should introduce you to some colleagues," he said, his voice steady, projecting a confidence he didn't feel. He led her away from Mark, weaving through crowded tables laden with crystal glasses and gourmet hors d'oeuvres. The world around them faded, locking them in their secret bubble. When they reached a quiet alcove, he turned to her, urgency spilling out. "You did great back there," he said, but concern edged his tone. "Are you okay?" Emily's eyes glimmered, betraying a vulnerability beneath her composed exterior. "I didn't think it would feel this tense," she admitted softly, anxiety curling her lips. "I didn't sign up for scrutiny." "Neither did I," David confessed, the weight of responsibility settling like a stone in his gut. The thought of ruining what they created tightened the knot in his chest. "But we'll get through this together. Just stay close to me." Their eyes held for a moment, and David felt his resolve strengthening. This charade had begun as a lifeline for both of them, a way to present images of triumph while hiding the truth. But now, tangled in an unexpected connection, the stakes were rising. Suddenly, there was a commotion near the entrance. The doors swung open violently, and in strode an elegantly dressed woman, her silver hair shimmering under the chandelier lights. "David!" she exclaimed, her voice cutting through the crowded room like a knife. "There you are." Emily stiffened. David's heart sank as he recognized Shannon, the woman he once thought was the love of his life. What was she doing here? The tension wrapped around him like a fraying wire. Shannon's sharp eyes scanned the crowd before landing on David, a smirk playing at the corners of her mouth. "I hope you've come to your senses," she said, her voice dripping with mockery. "What do you think you're playing at?" The air thickened with unspoken tension. Every eye in the room was glued to them, waiting to see what would unfold. David glanced at Emily, and the worry in her gaze mirrored his own. Were they about to be outed, or was this something more personal, more dangerous? He felt the room hold its breath, teetering on the edge of revelation. What had started as a ploy was now a high-stakes game, and as he opened his mouth to reply, he realized they were both standing on shaky ground. Would he expose his past to protect their present, or plunge into the unknown consequences of this encounter? And in that pregnant moment, the reality of everything began to unravel. What would happen next? David's jaw tightened as he stared at Shannon, her piercing gaze cutting through the air thick with expectation. He could feel Emily's tension beside him, a mix of courage and fear flickering in her eyes. The world around them faded to a dull roar, each heartbeat pounding a frantic rhythm in David's ears. How did Shannon end up here, a ghost from his past resurrecting at the worst possible moment? "What do you mean, playing at?" He managed to stammer, forcing confidence into his voice even as dread twisted in his stomach. The laughter and chatter of the party faded into a hushed murmur as everyone turned their attention towards the spectacle. "Oh, come on. You really think a sheik like this is here for your charming personality?" Shannon gestured toward Emily with an exaggerated roll of her eyes. "Is the great David trying to settle down with a maid? I didn't think you'd stoop so low." The barbs were direct. Each word sliced through him, and the silence that ensued felt more like a verdict. David glanced at Emily, who now looked vulnerable, the confidence that had shone through earlier dimming as the spotlight bore down on her. "Hey, that's uncalled for," David snapped, feeling something fierce awaken within him. "Emily is a wonderful woman. You'll respect her." The words felt like a defense, but it mirrored the tangled feelings in his heart. He chose to stand beside her, not just as a cover for their charade but for something deeper that was quickly blossoming. The crowd was still, breath suspended as Shannon took a step closer, her smile warped, almost predatory. "It's cute, really. What are you trying to prove? That you're over me? Look at this girl, it's like you're trying to convince yourself." David felt heat creeping up his neck. Pain mingled with anger, each memory of their past raging like a storm within him. Now was not the time to be unraveling his past or validating Shannon's cruel jibes. He fought against the wave of frustration rising in him. "Why are you even here?" he snapped, his voice low but charged with intensity. "What do you want?" "I want you to think." She leaned in further, her voice hushed but sharp enough for the prying ears around them. "You haven't moved on. You never did, or else you wouldn't need to show off this. Before he could respond, she turned her gaze toward Emily, a twisted smile on her lips. "It must be exhausting to pretend to date a man like David. Do you even know what you're getting yourself into? I hope you have a strong heart." David felt the air crackle with tension, and a heat pooled in his chest. He wanted to shield Emily, to pull her away from the growing storm. Yet with every insult, he could see Emily's fire flickering back to life. It was amazing, but in the face of Shannon's barbed words, she stood tall, head held high. "You might want to look in the mirror first," Emily said, her voice steady, cutting through the atmosphere like a blade. "It takes a lot of guts to be unkind." The room erupted. Gasps and murmurs passed through the crowd as David felt a sense of pride washing over him. This was the Emily he had grown to admire, the one who was unafraid to stand up for herself. But it was just the beginning. David could feel the tension shift again, the atmosphere heavy with anticipation. He sensed Shannon's fury brewing, a tempest ready to unleash. "Watch your back," Shannon hissed, her voice a low venom that sent shivers down David's spine. "This isn't over." As she backed away, her eyes still fixed on Emily, David's heart raced. Was this just a skirmish, or the start of a far more dangerous game? They both turned to look at each other, the weight of unspoken fears hanging in the air. What if Shannon wasn't just a blast from the past, but a storm on the horizon? With their breaths still heavy in the aftermath, a new urgency pulsed between them. What have we really gotten ourselves into? David wondered, but the answer felt as elusive as Shannon's departing figure. As the door slammed shut behind Shannon, another figure emerged from the crowd, silhouetted against the flickering lights. David's heart sank again, recognition hitting him like a freight train. This was someone he never expected, and their arrival might change everything. What did they want? And could David protect Emily if the truth about their facade and his past unraveled further? David's heart raced as the figure advanced through the crowd, their face barely illuminated by the dim, pulsing lights. He felt the edges of his panic sharpen. This was a familiar face, one he had hoped to never see again. "Brandon," he whispered, dread coiling tightly in his stomach. Brandon was his brother, or at least had been before the fallout. The years fraught with betrayal and resentment flooded back to him in a rush. Emily stiffened beside him, sensing his sudden shift in energy. She glanced up at him, confusion etched on her face. "Who is that?" "Someone I thought was long gone," David replied, his voice low. Brandon moved closer, an air of arrogance settling over him like a cloak. The crowd parted for him as if he wielded power, and the murmurings grew louder, people whispering, pointing. David could see pity in their eyes, whispers of a once close bond that had shattered into pieces. "Look who we have here." "The great David," Brandon said, an inflection of mockery curling his lips. "And with a maid, no less. They really do let anyone into these parties, don't they?" His tone dripped with sarcasm, every word a subtle jab. "Leave her out of this, Brandon," David warned, stepping protectively in front of Emily. Brandon merely chuckled, "Oh, come on. This is too good, a real-life postcard. Look at you, CEO, dating your maid. This is so poetic." Nerves crackling, David clenched his fists. "What do you want, Brandon?" The question was laced with frustration and fear, a little boy's cry hiding beneath the surface of his adult bravado. "I'm here to talk business," Brandon replied, waving a hand dismissively. "But I also heard some whispers about your little arrangement with Emily. When I saw you together, I thought, wow, this boy really knows how to keep up appearances." He leaned in closer, his breath foul with contempt. But you know what they say, everything comes with a price. David shifted uncomfortably, the room spinning a little as anxiety crept in. Emily stood silent, her earlier fire replaced with uncertainty. He cast her a quick glance, silently assuring her it was all going to be okay, but his heart wasn't so sure. Just back off. I won't let you drag her into whatever sick games you're playing, he said defiantly, but his voice trembled slightly. Oh, I'm just getting started, Brandon shot back, his eyes glinting dangerously. Why don't you consider our family business a partnership instead of a rivalry? I've got plans, and trust me, you're going to need a strong ally. David felt the crowd's tension thickening, their curiosity fueling his anxiety. The Dimore legacy was something he had tried so hard to escape. He grimaced at the implications, trapped again in the very web he hoped to flee from. Tell me you're not actually considering this. Emily broke in, her voice cutting through the suffocating atmosphere. Consider what? David asked, the panic brewing within him. He felt for her, desperately trying to shield her from this mess. It's just talk. Oh, I wouldn't say just talk. Brandon leaned back, a smirk stretching across his face as he scanned the crowd. You'll want to reevaluate your position, David. Not everyone's going to be your biggest fan. Some people are born to conquer. David's mind raced as he fought against the suffocating dread rising in him. What was Brandon really up to? The stakes were rising, and Emily's grip on his arm tightened, grounding him in the moment. But in the back of his mind, small cracks of fear whispered, was this just a warning, or was something even darker brewing beneath the surface? As Brandon laughed mockingly and turned to leave, he threw a final shot over his shoulder. Remember, David, in our world, loyalty is as fragile as glass. An ice-cold shiver ran down David's spine. He could feel Emily's heart thumping steadily, mirroring his own racing pulse. What lies ahead in this twisted family saga? Would they be able to weather the storm brewing on the horizon, or would their lives come shattering down? With each question lingering heavily in the air, David knew this encounter was far from over. They had to face a reality they never signed up for, a reality that was creeping closer, tightening its grip. What hidden truths lay ahead, and would they be able to handle whatever dangers awaited them? David felt like he had been punched in the gut. As Brandon blended back into the pulsating crowd, his laughter ringing in his ears, the ominous weight of those words hung over him like a thick fog. He could feel the heat of mortification creeping up his neck, mingling with anger and helplessness. Are you okay? Emily whispered, her concern wrapping around him like a lifeline in the chaotic atmosphere. Her eyes searched his face, trying to find reassurance that he didn't have. No, he said, the truth slipping through his clenched teeth. I need to get out of here. He pulled her into a nearby alcove, away from prying eyes. The music thudded through the walls, a stark contrast to the frantic pounding of his heart. God, I thought we'd moved on from this. I thought. He ran a hand through his hair in frustration. I can't believe he just showed up like that. Who even is he? Emily asked, her voice steady but laced with confusion. I mean, why does he hate you so much? Brandon is complicated. David leaned against the wall, struggling to find the words. He is my brother, but he is also my worst enemy. After our father's death, everything fell apart. Greed, betrayal. He wanted what I have. It's been a bloody chess game ever since. Emily stepped closer, her brow furrowing. What does he mean about loyalty and business? Is he really a threat? The fear in her voice mirrored his own growing anxiety. I doubt he'd do anything too extreme in public, but I can't shake the feeling he is plotting something. Then we can't go back out there. We can't let him ruin this. What if he exposes us? She asked, her voice trembling slightly. David's eyes met hers, realization dawning on him. She was right. The whispers would turn into shouts, ripping apart the fabric of their lives. We'll need a plan. We have to get ahead of this. Like what? She asked, biting her lip as she considered the precarious balance they were now walking. Keep your distance from him. We need to act normal. I can't lose you too, he said fiercely. You mean too much to me. The sincerity in his voice made her pause, an unspoken understanding passing between them. The connection they shared was real, an anchor in the chaos. Before either could speak again, a sharp voice cut through the murmurs outside. David. It was one of his associates, visibly panicked. There you are. You need to come quick. Brandon's causing a scene, claiming you've been involved in illegal dealings. Panic exploded within David. What? He's stirring up the guests, the associate urged. You need to confront him. Now. Shit, David cursed, turning to Emily. We have to go back out there. If he's turned the narrative against me, no wait. Emily grabbed his arm. You can't go alone. He'll twist everything. Breath hitching, David looked into her eyes, now filled with a steely resolve, the fierce spirit he had fallen for. You think you can stand up to him? I'd stand up to anyone if it's you we're fighting for, she said, her voice solid. This isn't just about business anymore, David. It's personal. David felt renewed energy surging through him. All right. Let us go. Together. As they stepped back into the fray, the energy shifted. David felt the eyes on him, felt the whispers stinging like daggers. His body hummed with adrenaline, but this time, he wasn't alone. Brandon was out there, lurking in the shadows, ready to strike like a snake. Just remember, David murmured as they pushed through the throng, he's dangerous. Don't let him bait you. But they were close now, close enough to see Brandon standing defiantly at the center of the room, the crowd forming a circle around him. Smug satisfaction plastered across his face made David's blood boil. As Brandon's eyes locked onto theirs, a wicked grin spread, and chills danced down David's spine. This is going to get messy, he said, slowing his pace. What's he planning? Emily whispered beside him, steeped in tension. I don't know, he replied, voice low. But whatever it is, we need to be ready. The moment stretched tightly between them, anticipation weighing heavily in the air, just like a storm. About to break. What cruel game was Brandon playing? And how far would he go to bring them down? The confrontation was inevitable, and they were about to find themselves caught in a whirlwind, battling not just for their reputation, but for their very lives. David steeled himself as he stared down his brother, knowing that the truth was about to unravel one way or another. David stepped out into the open space, the chaos of the party swirling around him like a tempest. Brandon stood, arms crossed, relishing the attention. The crowd was a mixture of curious onlookers and anxious whispers. David felt a wave of humiliation crash over him as eyes bore into him, judging, speculating, waiting for the fireworks to begin. David. Brandon called, his voice dripping with mockery. It cut through the noise, capturing everyone's attention. Glad you could join us. Are you ready to clear the air about your shady dealings? Emily tightened her grip on David's arm, her breath quickening. What's he doing? She murmured, her face pale as fear crept into her expression. I can handle this, David replied, trying to reassure himself as much as her. Stay close to me. Brandon took a step forward, smirking as he toyed with the audience's fascination. I know how you love your little games, brother. But your secrets are out. Why don't you give them a taste of the truth? Or perhaps, are you afraid of what might happen if they learned about your fraudulent business practices? Gasps rippled through the spectators, a mixture of shock and intrigue, and David's stomach twisted. He could feel the ground shifting beneath him as the weight of Brandon's words sank in. This wasn't just a confrontation, it was a full-on assault, and the stakes couldn't be higher. No one believes you, David shot back, forcing venom into his voice. You're a joke, Brandon. Nothing but a bitter man living in the shadow of your brother. Brandon laughed. It was a deep, resonant sound that sent shivers down David's spine. Bitter? Perhaps. But I've been wronged, while you've been parading around like a saint. Everyone here wants to believe in the honest entrepreneur. But what happens when they see the monster hiding beneath the suit? Emily's grip faltered, and David felt the panic rising in her. We need to get out of here, she whispered urgently, eyes darting around as if hunting for an escape route. No, David replied firmly. I won't let him drive me away. Not again. Brandon continued, his voice lowering, making sure everyone strained to hear. You see, David hasn't just betrayed me, he has betrayed everyone who ever trusted him. And I found proof. He produced a file, thick and ominous, waving it above his head like a trophy. The crowd gasped again. What do you have, Brandon? David called out, gritting his teeth. Evidence. Brandon's eyes sparkled with delight. Evidence that will ruin you. Financial misconduct, a web of lies, and betrayal to top it all off. I will be the one who ascends, while you crash down. An intense silence fell, every ear trained on the brothers, each holding their breaths, waiting for the impending fallout. The crowd buzzed with whispers, the tension thickening with every second. Where is this so-called evidence? David challenged, his pulse racing, knowing every second counted. Why, here, of course. Brandon snapped, tearing the file open and letting several documents flutter to the floor. The evidence scattered, littering the shiny floor with potential wreckage. David lunged forward instinctively, lunging for the papers, but Brandon stepped back, a sly grin plastered on his face. Too late. The ball's rolling now. Emily stood frozen beside him, her eyes wide in realization. David, this isn't just about you anymore, we're in this together. Brandon feasted on the chaos he had created, reveling in David's distress. The crowd shifted slightly as many began to move closer, eager to see the destruction unfold. Look at the two of you, he taunted. A perfect little duo caught in a web of lies. What a romantic story, don't you think? David's mind raced. He felt exposed, cornered. The stakes had become unbearably high, and suddenly, his past was crashing into his present. He glanced at Emily, their eyes locking. Emily, he started but was cut off by a shout from the crowd. Face the music, David. Clear your name. The demand echoed, unraveling the last remaining threads of his composure. What would he say? How could he turn this around? The question hung in the air like a loaded gun. David stood frozen, heart racing. Brandon leaned back, smirking, clearly enjoying his brother's turmoil. The weight of the moment pressed against David like a vice, and he realized he had one chance to reclaim his reputation and his future. Now's not the time to hesitate, Emily whispered urgently, sensing the pivotal point of their confrontation. David squared his shoulders, taking a deep breath. Brace yourself, brother. This isn't over. The crowd leaned forward, sensing the rising tide of tension. What would David reveal to turn the tables? What dark secrets from the past would come to light? The moment had come. The crowd waited, breaths bated, as if the weight of silence could shatter any moment. David took in the faces around him, their eyes glistening with anticipation. He could spot sympathy, curiosity, and even malice, the full spectrum of human emotion swirling like a storm. A lump formed in his throat. Listen to me. He shouted, his voice cracking with the weight of his desperation. Whatever Brandon has told you, it's not the whole story. I've made mistakes. I admit that. But I've also worked hard to change. Brandon interjected with a crooked smile. Change? Or just cover up? Let us see where that leads. He stepped to the side, gesturing to the scattered papers on the floor like a twisted master of ceremonies directing the crowd's attention. David seethed. What do you actually know about me? You only see what you want to, the image you've built up in your head. Your image is a facade, and everyone loves a little drama, don't they? Brandon shot back, acknowledging the frenzied whispers among the crowd. Emily squeezed David's arm tighter, her face drawn with concern. David, you need to expose him. Reveal the truth. The urge to collapse, to flee, ate at him, but he fought it back. How could you betray me like this? David said, directing his fury at Brandon. It wasn't just business anymore, it was personal, echoing through moments of childhood and connection, now marred. Thought we were family. Brandon chuckled mockingly. Oh, but brother, you turned your back on me. Don't act surprised when I return the favor. Silence hung again, unbroken, a moment where time seemed to fold. David inhaled deeply, the weight of the choice pressing into his chest. He could feel Emily's warmth beside him, her steadiness grounding him. You want to know the truth? The onlookers leaned in closer. Whispers of, yes, danced through the crowd as they strained to catch every word. I did make mistakes, he began, forcing the truth to the surface. But I never acted alone. I was deceived, just like you all are being deceived right now. Brandon's smirk faltered for a moment, but he quickly recovered. Ah. We're sharing blame now, are we? That's rich. You don't get to twist this, David pressed. My failures were my own, yes, but your schemes, your lies have manipulated perception and brought this turmoil. Gasps erupted, a rippling reaction through the audience, but the fear in Emily's eyes told him it wasn't enough. Let us talk about the numbers, shall we? David continued with determination. Tell them about the real state of the company. He could feel all eyes piercing him. Your lies have been festering. They're rooted in jealousy, brother. Brandon stepped back, a flash of anger crossing his face. You dare question my integrity? Oh, please. Integrity? David scoffed, the words bitter on his tongue. You balled up your happiness and sold it to the highest bidder. How many deals did you sabotage behind my back? The crowd gasped collectively again, a wave of speculation washing over them, like ripples across a lake. Brandon, cornered, hesitated for a fraction of a second but quickly masked it with bravado. You think you can turn this on me? You're grasping at straws. His composure rattled the crowd. Heads turned, voices hushed, processing the exchange. David seized the moment. Maybe you should look within, Brandon. Because deep down, you'll realize you're the one who can't escape your own monsters. Brandon's eyes flickered, anger making them blaze. Bravo, David, but you've underestimated me. He turned, beckoning a friend in the crowd, someone David recognized. Look, it's Gabrielle. She knows everything. The name hit David like a punch. Gabrielle. She had been an ally but a long time ago. What truths could spill? Would she corroborate his claims or deepen his problems? Stand your ground, Emily whispered fiercely, but the uncertain knot in David's stomach tightened. As Gabrielle stepped forward, the party turned to gawk, and David felt the invisible chains of his past pull taut. What would she say? Would she become his savior or his demise? Let me tell you the real story. Gabrielle's voice rang out, and everyone leaned forward, hearts pounding, on the edge of their seats, craving the bombs she might drop next. Gabrielle. The name slipped from David's lips like a desperate lifeline, but the alarm bells in his head rang louder. Her presence was both a blessing and a threat. What is going on? The crowd held its collective breath, expectant eyes fixated on Gabrielle, who seemed momentarily lost in the weight of the moment. She had always been fierce, a voice of reason. But now? She looked hesitant, glancing back at Brandon as if weighing her loyalty at the scale of public opinion. Brandon and David. Gabrielle paused, clearing her throat, a storm brewing behind her steel-blue eyes. They're both right. Each of them has played a role in this mess. A murmur broke out among the crowd, rippling through like a pulse. Stop dancing around it. Brandon barked, his annoyance coating the air. Tell them the truth, Gabrielle. Who was responsible for what? David's heart rattled in his chest. He couldn't handle any more ambiguity. Anger boiled within him. Don't let him sway your words. Speak for yourself. Gabrielle took a deep breath, and with a tone that now held a sharpened edge, she continued. This is bigger than either of you. It's about the very culture of this company. We've strayed from our values. She shot David a pointed look, as if reminding him of their shared history, their shared vision. The community deserves better community. Brandon scoffed, rolling his eyes dramatically. Is that a joke? We're trying to run a business here. Not a charity. The crowd was divided, with some nodding in agreement and others gasping at Brandon's dismissive tone. The tension thickened, twist after twist of uncertainty latching onto every last face. Gabrielle, tell them. David urged, burying the growing dread that her next words might seal his fate. Tell them about the board meeting last month and how enough. Brandon erupted, brushing David aside as if he were a mere annoyance. This isn't about last month. It's about right now. I have the support of key stakeholders. Tell them that, Gabrielle. Tell them I'm winning and he's losing. His arrogance was insufferable, yet it sent a chill down David's spine. As stakes rose, the eyes of the crowd flickered between the two brothers, waiting for a spark to ignite the smoldering chaos between them. Gabrielle, her voice lowered but with a resolve that commanded attention, finally spoke. There's something you all need to know. I uncovered discrepancies, data suggesting manipulation from both sides. Brandon's not the only one who has been playing dirty. Gasps echoed once more. The murmurs grew louder, electric, like the crack of thunder before a storm. The crowd illustrated the division, eyes darting in confusion or intrigue. They were hungry for a story, one that could break the brothers apart like kindling. Brandon's expression darkened, his facade cracking. You step out of line now, Gabrielle, and you bring it all down. You know what you risk. He took a step forward, almost menacing, a shadow eclipsing her light. She held his gaze, her defiance igniting like a flame. I would rather face whatever storms come my way than hide behind lies. This isn't just about you or David, it's about all of us. But whispers rippled through the crowd. What might those words awaken? What truths could Gabrielle possibly expose? Fear and apprehension danced in the air, swirling like a maelstrom. David felt claustrophobic, the walls closing in as uncertainty darkened every corner of the assembly. The moment flashed by, a heartbeat pulsing. Could they withstand the fallout of revelations waiting just beneath the surface? I have truth too. David shouted suddenly, adrenaline fueling every word. Do you all want to know what I discovered? The financial ties that connect our company's downfall. Because it wasn't just bad luck. Heads snapped to him, a cannon of eager faces waiting for the blast of every word. David, stop. Emily's plea cut through the chaos. Don't push, but he could feel it, the fracturing of everything they built. The moment of reckoning was at hand. He stepped too far to back down now. And then, from the depths of the crowd, a voice said, tell us everything, David. This is bigger than it seems. Every eye shifted, tension thickening the air, as David prepared to share knowledge that could either save them or dash their hopes once and for all. What would his next revelation unlock? David squared his shoulders, feeling the weight of 1,000 eyes press against him. Each person in the crowd was hanging on his words, and he could sense that this was a pivotal moment not just for him, but for everyone present. The numbers. I found. His breath hitched, words tumbling out in a rush. They led right to the board. I've seen documents, financial documents that show our company's issues were no accident. They were orchestrated. The collective gasp from the crowd felt like an electric jolt, sharp and shocking. What do you mean orchestrated? Gabrielle asked, her eyebrows knitting together, but her voice held a tremor of curiosity more than concern. The air was thick with tension, and David's heart raced. The truth was a beast he had nurtured, and now it threatened to break free. It's a scheme. A manipulation of data aimed at creating a facade of failure. They wanted to buy us out, capitalize on our vulnerabilities. But who? Brandon spat, his voice dripping with skepticism. Who would be low enough to do that? Your so-called allies, Brandon, David shot back, nearly breathless from the adrenaline coursing through him. Names I won't name yet, but I'll back it up. I have proof that I can expose. Be careful, David, Emily warned. You could lose everything. Maybe I've already lost enough, he fired back. The crowd was restless now, murmurs swept through it like a rising tide. Who cares about David? Someone shouted from the left, the tension snapping in a different direction. What's at stake is our jobs, our livelihoods. Listen. Gabrielle raised her arms, trying to calm the storm. We can't rush blindly into this chaos. If there's truth to what David is saying, we need to focus on the facts, not the feuding between brothers. But David saw uncertainty flickering in her eyes. Did she believe him? David, if you're wrong. Brandon's voice became low and lethal, you are risking all of us. Would you put your personal vendetta above the livelihood of everyone here? Each word felt like a dagger, cutting deeper into David's resolve. But just as easily it ignited embers of defiance in his heart. It's not about personal vendetta, it's about integrity. This company should stand for something. Let the truth burn away the lies. Out of nowhere, a loud crash interrupted. A figure burst through the crowd. Grace, the tech expert, clutching her laptop. I found something too. Last night, I noticed a pattern in the transactions. That Grace's face blanched, realizing she'd interrupted a powder keg. Everyone turned, eyes wide, breath held. There were backdoor deals. They were pulling strings that lead right back to someone we trust. Skepticism surged through the crowd, disbelief battling intrigue. Who? Someone demanded. The question echoed loudly. It was Gabrielle's voice next, steady almost, but her eyes flickered like a candle caught in wind. If there are backdoor deals, we need names, Grace. We need evidence. David felt the ground beneath him tremble as ripples of unease spread like wildfire. What was this chaos going to bring forth? He had not expected the truth to unravel in this way, and he wasn't sure how deep the rabbit hole went. I need time to analyze. Grace began. No time. David interrupted, almost out of control now. We need to act, and we need to act fast. We have to discover who has been pulling the strings before it's too late. Just then, a loud shout rose from the back of the room. We can't let them take us down. Fight! Suddenly, the voices of his colleagues, once hesitant, began to rally, brimming with anger. The crowd morphed from a passive audience into a collective, fueled by a shared purpose. The scene reached a crescendo of chaotic energy, David realizing they were on the brink of a battle, but who exactly were they fighting against? Everyone, listen. His voice commanded attention once again. This fight is about more than just us. If we're going to get to the bottom of this, if we're going to save our company, we must expose the evil within. Are you with me? Yes. The roar thundered through the space, intensity electrifying the air around him. The moment felt charged, yet it terrified him. What dangers lay ahead? Who in that room held secrets capable of destroying not just their careers but the very fabric of their lives? As anticipation hung palpably, the unshakable question loomed in David's mind. What would happen when the masks came off? And in that very instant, buried truths seemed poised to surface, alive and ready to reveal themselves. David stood before the crowd, the weight of their eyes pressing down on him like heavy chains. Their anticipation crackled with electricity, and he could feel the pulse of urgency in the air. Are you ready to confront the truth? He shouted, channeling both self-doubt and fierce determination into his words. The room held its breath. Gabrielle stepped forward again, her voice carrying strength. We need to work together. She urged, her gaze piercing into both brothers, searching for clarity within the chaos. This is about us all. Let us cut through the games and uncover who is behind this mess. Brandon scoffed, his arrogance unyielding. You really think David is innocent in this? He plays the martyr while throwing stones. His voice dripped with venom, and David could see the decisive shifts in the crowd's posture. Whispers ignited again, their unity faltering, but Emily's voice rang out, steady and sure. Brandon doesn't want a resolution. He thrives on this chaos. We need to reconsider who we really trust. Every eye turned, desperate for direction, and she commanded their attention like a lighthouse cutting through fog. Brandon, if you think throwing mud will make you the hero here, you're mistaken, David pressed, anger simmering under the surface. People will see through your lies. The tension thickened, palpable moments stretching longer with every heartbeat. People are sheep. They'll believe what I tell them, Brandon retaliated, leaning into the crowd's apprehension and confusion. You can't fight fire with kindness, brother. That's your downfall. But David felt resolve hardening within him. Let us fight together to expose the truth, not just for us but for everyone who has sacrificed so much, he said, his heart pounding with conviction. He stepped closer to Emily, her unwavering support anchoring him in the storm, then Grace roared back into the conversation. I have information that could change everything. I was compiling data on transactions, and I saw discrepancies pointing to someone high up in the company. I haven't finalized the details, but we need to act fast while the momentum is on our side. Brandon shifted, discomfort crackling through him. You think you can just throw accusations around? How predictable. But doubt flickered in his bravado, showing cracks beneath his arrogance. The crowd murmured again, the current of their emotions twisting and turning. David felt a surge of hope. This wasn't just about him or his brother anymore. It was about justice for everyone who had fought alongside them, families, livelihoods. Brandon, if you've been playing in the shadows, then it's time to face the music. David declared, the resolve in his voice strengthening with every word. He sensed the support of the crowd growing, the tide was turning. Then let us do this, Emily added, stepping forward, her presence felt empowering. Let us confront whoever is pulling the strings. A chorus of agreement echoed, outrage bubbling in their voices. We're all here together, we're done hiding. Someone shouted, and the force of community stirred the atmosphere into palpable frenzy. Just then, Grace spoke again, her brow furrowing. We have to pinpoint who's involved first. We don't know how deep this goes, but we will find out. Damn right, David responded, adrenaline coursing through him. They won't see us cower in fear. Together, we can fight back. But before he could finish, a figure pushed through the throng, locking eyes with him. It was Allison, head of the financial department, her face pale yet resolute. I have something to share, she said, voice trembling but steady enough to command attention. The crowd fell silent, tension rising once more. I overheard conversations last month. There's more going on than you realize. Brandishing those numbers isn't the only thing being manipulated. I've been collecting information that links many board members. Stop. Brandon interrupted fiercely, stepping toward her, but the crowd pulsed with energy, refusing to disperse. You'll regret this. Allison raised her chin defiantly. And you'll regret not taking this seriously. These people are tired of your lies. David smiled at her, gratitude swelling in his chest. Their efforts united, cracks were beginning to show in Brandon's facade. The unsuspecting allies quickly turned into an unstoppable force, emboldened by the truth. But suddenly, an anguished shout cut through the assemblage. You can't do this to us, David. One of the junior staff members cried out, their face a mask of worry. You'll ruin everything. The insecurity ricocheted through the crowd like a shot. David faced the trembling young man, empathy flooding in. Listen, this is the moment we take back control, not just for us but for those who will come after. Does anyone really want to believe him? Brandon shot back, his voice rising like an echo, desperate and fierce. Enough of this. Came Allison's voice, unwavering. David, stand tall with us. Show your integrity. Heat surged inside David. The moment had come, it spiraled toward a defining climax. He clenched his fists as the collective hum of unity rose to a roar. "You're right. We will not hide, the time is now. Let us expose the liars and reclaim the foundation we've built." David's final words pulsed like a heartbeat throughout the room, ascending into confident affirmation. "Together, we will reveal what lies beneath the surface. Brutality, lies, and manipulation will not drown out our voices." With courage swelling in their hearts, the community gathered their strength. They understood that standing together was their only chance amidst the chaos. Each individual had a role in this fight. This wasn't just about reputations, it was a struggle for the future they had envisioned, united by shared values. The tension broke like glass shattering, sending shards scattering everywhere. In that instant, David felt something monumental shift. Just like that, victory suddenly seemed within reach. Not just for him or Emily, but for every person who dared stand against pressure. "Let us bring the truth to light," he declared, bold and unwavering, igniting a chorus of agreement that resonated deep into the night. A promise of determination, of hope, a united front blooming against the shadows. And just like that, he claimed a newfound strength, ready to fight for everything they cherished. The battlefield laid bare beneath them, ready for the final confrontation. The promise of dawn hanging on the horizon. This was the moment they had all been waiting for, and nothing would stand in their way. Now, as you've joined us for this epic conclusion, I urge you, remember to subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories we'll be unfolding. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, it seriously helps us out. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about what just happened. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand how vital your support is.